Welcome everybody to episode 170 of the Lookout Podcast. I am Meelz. I am here with LJ himself. LJ, how are we feeling today?
Um,
Loaded question.
I know, right? It is a very loaded question because
I feel the exact same way every time I don't know if there's any overlap between this show and A show. I'm sure there is. But every time Justin asks me like, how you doing? I'm like,
it's like how real do I get on this podcast?
yeah, really.
No, I mean I'm doing okay. Obviously, we are still suffering from a heavy loss
Right.
this week. So
yeah.
that definitely was a gut punch for the weekend for sure.
It's kind of tough. Like, it's something. So, if you don't know what we're referencing, you've been under a rock. That's kind of crazy. But this past week, it was announced that creator of Dragon Ball and other amazing stories, Akira Toriyama passed away, age 68. Actually passed away on March 1st. It was revealed to us, the public, on March 8th. And to be honest,
he hit the MF Doom on us, didn't he?
That's
so lit. That's so.
I kind of like it. I think we're so used to, especially with like the Kobe situation and everything like that. We're so used to like someone passes, we know within minutes, we know within hours, we know in a pretty short time. But for this to kind of like, he was dealing with something private. He was experiencing something. And his family got to like grieve and do all these things with him and all that with the privacy of themselves without it being a major spectacle, which it could have been. I mean, literally, if it's announced almost immediately, that the Toriyama family probably has to like figure out how they're going to maneuver around this. But since it was announced in the way they announced, they're able to like kind of grieve, hold services, all this other stuff like that. So definitely big, but man, this is a major loss for the anime community. Like, Akira Toriyama was maybe the first mangaka that I've ever known. Ever.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
I think like that is Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball were essentially the gateway drug.
Right.
It's for everyone into anime. Like, it had transcended what we thought anime was and became such a staple in just pop culture and entertainment that, once again, it's just one of those rare things where it extended past its medium.
Right.
And to lose such a giant, to lose someone who was so influential that literally you can reference so many things back to this one piece of work, and
right.
And all the children and all the things that have extended from it. You won't. I don't think there is anything that we'll see like that ever again.
Absolutely. No, it's like just to be creating a work in itself that many people are able to kind of indulge in, celebrate, take part in, build memories off of, build communities off of, build podcasts off of, right? Like, all these experiences that they have, and to be able to do that is like the true mark and probably the greatest fulfillment, greatest moment that a creator can actually have. Like, something that you created that means something, that's heavy, that's worth something, and that means a lot to a lot of people. And I look at it from the side of creative. I look at it from the side of a human. I look at it, I'm just in such, and I think most of the anime community as well, and not even just the anime community, but his fellow peers in the space, the mangakas that have all grown up under him and have been influenced by him, have all shared their thoughts about his passing. And it's just a major loss to the community. It's something that with Dragon Ball, oh man, like, I mean, there's no The Lookout without Akira Toriyama. Like, that's what it kind of like it boils down to me, with just the effect that they have, the effect that we have. There's no, a lot of these moments, a lot of these crossover moments to us even getting into anime doesn't happen without Akira Toriyama. So it's a lot to process. It's a lot to deal with. Um, but I'll say this, and I think we'll talk about this kind of like, we'll go on a longer form kind of like discussion about this a little bit. Not later in the episode, but on another occasion, considering I legitimately thought, I was like, should we take a break from Fullmetal Alchemist? But we're so deep into it.
Yeah, I mean, everything that we have in
My brain is so like focused on Fullmetal Alchemist.
Yeah, with the information overload we just got from these last batch of episodes, it would do us a disservice. But no, for real though, it's just one of, like, once again, it's one of those like world stopping losses where you're kind of just like, whoa, like what the, once again, we just lost this giant, this pioneer in this art form that is now, when you look where anime is now, it once again, it just all stem, like Dragon Ball Z just has literally it stems from that, the popularity of Dragon Ball Z and how it just opened the fucking doors for everything to come after.
Right.
And once again, I think just as an artist, I don't think you ever create anything in a way where you just kind of like, I truly don't think Akira created Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and create these characters in the mindset of like, oh, one day this thing is going to change the world. I'm pretty sure he just created out the love of the game, but to create something like that and really see it grow into that is like probably mind-boggling, like how many artists would just, would do anything to have that level of impact, and for him to have it, and like you said, to, you're reading his peers statements about him, and all of them have nothing to say but just beautiful things about the type of person that he was, and just how much he supported them, and how much he just pushed the next generation that came, after him, and the ones that continue to come after them. And so it's once again, we have lost a complete giant in this industry, in this medium, and it's, it's sad. It's just really sad. Like one of those things where you're like, this, Akira had grown to this level of like this level for me where I'm like, he can never die. Like, like you think about, you like, he's gonna live forever.
Even still, right? Like it lives on through Dragon.
Yeah. So, like he's gonna live forever, like in my eyes, and just because of what he, and all that he's done. So, for the mortal man to actually be gone though is really crazy to think about.
It's his work has extended over the last like 35 to 40 years, and I guess his last bit of work that he's worked on, which will be in anime form, is Dragon Ball Daima, that's coming out later this year. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of turns out. But it'll be more interesting. I mean, from here moving forward, right? There's, especially when you think about the manga, when you think about the stories that'll be told, the movies that are going to be created, all this other stuff, it won't have Toriyama's direct input in it. But I know, I mean, based on Toyotaro and kind of like everyone, it'll have his direct inspiration from it, because the thing about these mangakas is they're kind of like Loki and an enigma. They're not celebrities. And you'd think they would be, considering how popular manga is kind of over on the other side. There are very few who are very public facing and stuff like that. But most are kind of stick to the work and get it done. And kind of like you learn through their personalities from the little comments they leave in Weekly Shonen Jump, or kind of like how they write their stories, or the little pieces of interviews that you can kind of like grab onto. And that's kind of been how people have really become accustomed to Akira Toriyama over the last like 40 years or so. So it'll be interesting to see how Dragon Ball moves forward. It'll be interesting to see kind of like how the world moves forward. It was a major loss. I'm glad the world treated it as such. It was this cultural watershed moment. Dragon Ball coming to the United States and becoming an international phenomenon. Shout out to that person on Twitter who was like, I got shot at 15. I wasn't out, I was outside not watching anime. And I was like, damn, I would rather watch Dragon Ball Z than get shot. I'm just like,
shout out to the person that responded to him with the Trunks getting shot in the chest picture. It was like, this was you. Oh man.
It's a lot, and even still to this day, right? Like you're approaching 30. I'm past 30, but we're still here inside watching anime to this day, and a
It's
lot of that,
great. It's
yeah,
amazing, man. But like once again, like Dragon Ball Z was the gateway. That was the gateway drug for us. We're just like, yo, what? I need more of this. Like,
right,
where can I find more of this from?
absolutely. So, I think we'll do like a proper tribute, proper Dragon Ball kind of like situation. I know Subslide Dubslide will have something as well coming up pretty soon. Their return is imminent. We have not announced a date yet, but I'm sure it'll be soon. Um, but they'll be back, and I'm more than sure that D and J will also go over something as well. Um, but we're here. We're continuing the trek through Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Um, Again, as much as like this is like grand stakes, like we couldn't put this down. This is such a good story, and oh my god, where did we end off last time? We ended off episode 30 with
Where we learned about the Ishvalan War, and we
right,
kind of
right,
get all the backstory of like, okay, this is what cracked
right.
off. This is what happened. Um,
And I
and
thought Marco was dead, but apparently he's not. It was a dummy.
yeah, yeah, they
This is like how, I mean, I've watched this once and I didn't retain that much information because again, this anime, it's an information overload. There's a lot of moving parts, things that happen,
oh,
and
especially in these last few episodes, they go
yeah, and
hard.
things are not like clearly defined. They're not clearly broken up by arcs and stuff like that, where you can kind of reference, oh, this happened in this arc, or this happened in this arc. It's like, no, it's just one continuous story. So I legit thought Dr. Marco was dead, and I was like, oh, it was a dummy. Okay. Um, how do we feel about Scar disfiguring Dr. Marco? Like,
It
just off the
seemed
strength for
it, it seemed very painful and very relieving for Scar that he
yeah,
did
that's what I
that.
imagine. I was like,
He found some enjoyment doing that, but when you kind of figured out like why he did that, I was like, oh, Scar's a smart guy.
I mean, for them not to recognize him, yeah, I'm probably gonna recognize him still. It's not that he's completely. I mean, he uglier. That's the thing. Like, he's definitely uglier, but it's not like I'm not gonna know that nigga's Dr. Marco. Um, just look for the guy running with Scar. I don't know what to say. Like, it's a
Yeah, he made
big
it. He made himself hot about who he aligned himself with.
right.
I had a
Um,
friend growing up that he was on his Scar shit where I was like, you
what
got
do you
beef,
mean Scar shit? What's Scar shit?
where he had beef with so many sides that
Hmm.
I was like, although you are my friend and we have been good friends since I was a child, this is now becoming a liability because of how many people are now looking for you. That's what Marco's situation is. He's like, I kind of got thrown into this liability situation
This is
because of this
true.
guy that everyone's looking for.
We learned and let me. This is the most episodes we've ever covered. It is a lot of information, so I'm going to try to like parse this in a very sensible way, but I can't promise you that it's all going to end up being like hunky dory, figure it out. But the mission now is they have to find Mei Chang because she knows alchemy, and they're like, maybe alchemy could help us learn about alchemy and all this other stuff like that. And they also have to find Scar's brother's notes. So Mei Chang and Scar and Dr. Marco are kind of like all on the same page. Meanwhile, Self J. Kimbley himself, the mass murderer, the psycho, the guy who was imprisoned but somehow not murdered for killing other state alchemists. Um, and we know that he wasn't murdered because of corruption. The sideshow Bob with his shit. Um,
The big
he
man on
is
campus.
yeah, he is released because of Envy. He is released from jail. Envy's like driving the car. I was like, this is weird. I didn't know Homunculi can drive, but whatever. Uh, and he
It
has
seemed
one
like a
mission.
pretty solid driver too.
This is
Two hands
he,
on the wheel, two, and you know.
yeah, he did his thing. He has one mission, and that's to capture Dr. Marco and to kill Scar. And he is given another Philosopher's Stone in order to accomplish both. Um, and we're kind of like off to the races with this. We got uh, the Elric brothers trying to find Mei Chang, um, the Dr. Marco gang with Scar and them trying to find the book so they can kind of figure out how to deal with this from there. And we have Kimberly who's like, all right, let's find these people to murder. So it's kind of like this weird circle kind of thing of like, okay, they're all intertwined with one another. Nonetheless, let's see, where do I go from here? There's a couple of different storylines that end up like evolving in this ordeal. One of them is, I mean, we don't get much of Roy Mustang in these episodes, but we do. When we do, I think it's information that continues to build from his end. He's
Well,
not he's not in his big renegade mode in these
yeah, because
episodes.
right now they're playing the game with their hands tied right now.
Right.
So you see a lot of Mustang doing what he can within the restrictions, and also too like seeing what he's doing, how he's relaying information, how he's getting information, how he's creating these allies between um other generals and other people within the military. You kind of start getting a deeper respect for him in terms of not
Mm,
like I think that sometimes we get caught up in a person's ability to like fight in all these big battles and what can they do in the heat of battle,
right.
in terms of their how much of how much they help their team, but like to see him really be behind the scenes and get that behind the scenes look of him, like meeting with all these people, once again relaying this information, trying to figure out a way to overthrow King Bradley, and all doing this while under high surveillance. You're kind of like, oh, like Mustang's a different breed.
He meets up with Lieutenant Grumman, who is dressed like an old lady, and which is hilarious. But he tells the story. Lieutenant Grumman tells the story about how Raven, Commander Raven, or General or Lieutenant or whatever, their own names. Raven tried to pretty much offer him a position in the Mortal Clique. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to join Immortality? I feel like that's their rap name. Like, that's a Immortality is like a great '90s rap group name. Um,
Then like M is spelled like EM.
yeah, something like that. You know, like think affirmative action, but homunculi.
Yeah,
Um,
the
but
firm, but
right, the firm. What I'm saying, I'm thinking of the track affirmative action. Um,
Who's Nas?
it's got to be Bradley, right?
Pride is AZ.
Yeah. Keep going.
Greed
Fox.
is Greed is Foxy Brown. No,
No,
yeah,
Lust is
Lust
Foxy
Lust is
Brown.
Foxy
Lust is
Foxy
Foxy
Brown.
Brown. And then, oh God, who am I? I want to make sure. Hold on, I'm gonna make sure that I have everyone in the seven things. Just they all there. We got Cormega and Nature. Let's see. I think Cormega. Who would be Cormega? Probably like Greed.
Yeah, because Cormega was ousted from the group, and Nature came in to replace Cormega. So
And then so when you say Nature is like what? Like Ching? Like what the fuck? Like what is he? No.
Nature gotta be Nature could be gluttony.
Me- yeah. A couple of them are brain dead. Maybe he's like, I don't know. Maybe he's like Pride or something. I don't know.
That's
Someone's got to be
hilarious.
Pride. Someone's got to be Pride. Because a couple of these homunculi are like brain dead.
Yeah, for sure.
With that said, um, Roy Mustang, they tell him the story of how he tried to get him into a mortal clique, and then once he pretty much turned it down, he was sent to the dead end of the East afterwards. And he says he won't openly conspire with them, but he'll help them as much as he can. Um, they found out that Mei Chang is heading to the north area, so the Elric brothers like we're also going to head to the north area, to the northern wall of Briggs. Um, in this moment, we also see Ed and Al meet King Bradley's family, and he's like, "Oh, damn! They have no idea that this man is like a fucking lunatic and a homunculi, and it's all hunky dory." Little did we know, you know, the we'll get to the reveal of Salim, but which is
That
wild.
reveal was so hard though.
All right,
The reveal was tight
let's talk
because
about it.
yeah, just because how you're like, oh, I think with all the other ones, like with all the other
You
ones,
didn't
obviously they're
you didn't
threats.
see them. Right. Go ahead.
They're obviously they're threats, but like this one, you're kind of like, oh, this like little motherfucker is here to kill. Like this one is really here for business, huh? Like it's on
Yeah.
the same level of King Bradley in terms of menacing.
He is all right. So Pride. First of all, I like Pride reveal with Hawkeye, Lieutenant Hawkeye. I like the reveal of like she just walking alone, and then Pride is like behind her and is like, "Don't you fucking tell anybody that I'm Pride," or essentially like just kind of revealing that they're Pride, and then we learn so much about Pride all after the fact. But I like that reveal. I found it incredibly hilarious how that note was given to Roy Mustang himself. The whole like, you know, saying different officers' names and then kind of spelling out Salim Bradley as a homunculi. I'm like, think of how long that is. Think of let's sit here and try to like use code with rappers' names to spell out Salim is a homunculi. Salim Bradley is a homunculi. Like, where do you even begin? Like, what's a rapper name that starts with S?
Rapper name that starts with S.
Good lord.
Sexy Red.
Sexy Red.
Schoolboy Q.
Schoolboy. Wait, all right. Schoolboy Q. Then E. Eminem. L.
You're going through L.
We're spelling Salim Bradley as a homunculi with rapper names. Yes.
L Lil Baby.
I.
I-20.
Ooh, okay. M.
M Meek Mill.
Okay. B.
B.
Who's a rapper that starts with B? Oh my god.
Boss Man D-Lo.
There you go. I know people are screaming it out on the other side of this shit.
Yeah, they're
R.
like, no. R. Rod Wave.
Okay. A.
Is there a rapper with a list? A Boogie with the hoodie.
Hey, there you go. D.
D. Drake. Come on.
L.
LL Cool J.
E.
E. Eminem.
Y.
Young Thug.
Okay. I was gonna say Yellow Wolf. Lynn Bradley. All right. I. Another I. What's another I rapper?
Another I rapper.
Is Immortal Technique?
Ice Spice.
Oh, there we go. Ice Spice. Look at that. S.
S. Ooh. What's another rapper? S.
Oh my god.
Are there many rappers with the name with the?
We're
I know
gonna
someone.
get
I know people who are listening to this. They're like probably ringing them off.
I gotta look at it. I mean, we did Schoolboy Q.
Okay.
So,
Schoolboy Q again.
okay, let's do Schoolboy Q again. A.
A.
Does AZ count as A?
ASAP Rocky. AZ
ASAP Rocky.
ASAP Rocky.
ASAP Rocky. H.
H. Huncho.
Huncho. Come on.
I don't know. Who's a rapper that
again.
starts with H? Who's a rapper that starts with H?
That's a good question. Let me look this shit up right now.
Rappers with H.
Rappers that start with H. I'll give you Huncho for Huncho Jack. How about that?
Hoodrich Pablo Juan. There you go.
There you go. All right. Oh.
Oh.
I say rappers that start with O. Is that like based?
Does Ozuna count?
Does Ozuna count?
I don't know. Is Ozuna a rapper? Are we counting him as a Old Dirty Bastard? OJ the Juice Man.
Okay. Hey, hold on to that one because we got other O's coming up. M.
Dang, another M.
Like Cream.
Yeah, I was gonna say Megan Thee Stallion.
Okay. O again.
Obi Trice.
Okay. Ooh, okay. N.
N. This is fun. Nicki Minaj.
There you go. C.
C. Cardi B.
Okay. U. This is a tough one.
This is a tough one.
What's the rapper name that starts with U? Oh my god. Uncle Cracker?
Uzi Vert?
I'm gonna go with Uncle Cracker.
Okay, why not? He could have went You God. Uncle Murder.
Uncle Murder. There you go. Uncle Murder. L.
Lil Wayne.
Okay. And I again.
I. One more I. What's another rapper with I?
I'm trying to find one myself. Rapper that starts with I. Oh, I see a couple. There's a couple ways you can go.
Ice. Ice Cube.
Ice Cube. Okay, let's do that. Listen, we did it.
Salim
Bradley is a monkey, and I'm here, and I'm like, oh my god, yes. Oh, his playlist is banging. Oh shit, Salim Bradley's a monkey lie. This fire playlist. But we learned that way, and we learned Salim Bradley's a monkey lie, and we kind of like that's kind of where we leave that whole kind of like storyline situation as we end up here. We learn a little bit backstory about Pride. We actually see Pride later on in the episode. We will talk about that as we talk about Van Hohenheim himself. But let's travel to the northern wall of Briggs. But before we get there, Scar and Mei Chang are being followed. They're being followed by Kimlee, who is like out to get them for show and out to like blow up train things and all this other stuff like that. But because Kimlee has not fought in quite some time because he's been, in jail, which I'm not sure if that's how that works. Like, I guess you can be imprisoned and lose ability to fight, but I would feel like prison would also sharpen your fighting abilities.
Well, to be fair, he was on 24-hour lockdown with no contact, and he had no yard time. So it's not like he could really been
You're
out
not
there
shadow boxing or something. You're not like.
And they also had his hands sealed. He couldn't remember because if he put his hands together, he would have been able to.
I guess. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
He was put in a bad position.
He had no hands. So he ends up getting beat up by Scar, but he does, he ain't beat the case, but he make the race. You know what I'm saying? He got out of there really, really quickly, and but they're still all headed toward the north, and he ends up in a hospital at the foot of the northern wall of Briggs, and he eventually is folded into the storyline, and Scar also heads to that area as well. And I know Dr. Marco and Mei Chang end up reaching there before he does, but let's talk about the northern wall of Briggs. How do you feel about this new region? It's really feeling very Pokemon-y to me.
You know what? Shout out to Minnesota.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Shout out to the North. Shout out to Canada and my Canadian brothers. Yeah, that's all that Briggs is. Briggs is just St. Paul.
That's fucking hilarious. We meet Commander Olivier Armstrong. Let me just say this right now. Yes, completely a baddie. Might be my favorite character in this show. Might be. Thus far, might be.
I'm not mad at that.
I don't think there's anyone who has like just been like, I don't know, not like different, but like you clearly got the evil people, you clearly got the heroes, and people are trying to do good, and she's just like hard ass, badass woman, um, who's just like looks good, single, can't get no man because she's wild aggressive. It's very New York to me. Like that's what it feels like. She's like very New York.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
she can't get a man because she's too busy like running the army, and but she's cool. She's cool. She still does the thing. She has some great moments throughout the rest of the series. It continues the storyline of these strong women that are represented throughout the show. Um, Olivier is, yeah, she's godsend. She is at the Northern Mall of Briggs. They pull up to Briggs and they, Ed and Al get captured despite the hey, I have a letter from your brother who says I'm cool. He's like, I don't give a fuck about my brother. Fuck out of here. Um, so they meet, they get interrogated, but they can't say anything. They're prompted not to say anything. They're under the thumb. You can't just give up information all suddenly. People could be killed. Winry could be killed. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Yeah.
it,
Once
it, so
again,
they,
it's cool to see them having a see, and this also too shows the difference in like maturity levels.
Mhm.
I think these last few episodes really show that Ed and Al are still children. Um, because they have this first they have this very oddly optimistic, like we don't have to kill, like we don't have to do it like this, like
Yeah,
view, and they're around all these grizzly vets of like this isn't what military and war is all about.
it's not what
Um,
Briggs is about.
yeah, it's
Briggs
not
is
what Briggs is about. This is
get
not
down
what
and
we
lay
about
down.
up
Fuck
here.
out of
Like,
here.
listen, we are the North. Like, we got this blistering cold weather that makes you, heartless and mean because if you ever felt negative degree weather hit your bones, it instantly makes you mad at the world.
Boom.
Um,
St.
and this,
Paul.
yes, sweet old St. Paul, love my city. It gives you this angst that is unmatched. We know, like but you see how though they have to navigate these situations differently, because I think that even if you put a guy like Mustang in their same position, he's handling that situation much differently. Like he's gonna find a way to relay that information in a way that doesn't um get collateral damage or other people caught up in it, like even how him and Hawkeye are able to communicate with each other and have these secret things, like they have things in place
Right.
already that makes passing messages along easier amongst each other. Like Ed and Al don't really have that, or nor have established that type of system with themselves. So you see how they have to handle this situation completely different and kind of create a um, you know, not a great first impression. I think that she fucked with him off of the simple fact that she's like, okay, these kids are, are got some special, talents to them. But I think like the fact that he has to hide so much and doesn't know how to relate that makes communicating much harder between them. And
Right.
you'll
Also,
see that too. And you'll see that too as the longer they stay in Briggs and all the shit that pops off, the longer
also
they stay in Briggs.
right. Also, they have this like level of conviction towards still maintaining that secret and also trying to save their friends, but also very clear like we're on this journey. We're trying to change our bodies back. Like it's a level of conviction I think that they all respect there. I know Major Miles, the Ishvalan, uh, major of the state alchemist uh, troop, also respects them for like I love their conviction. I wish I could do some shit like that, but nah, I can't. It's not my job. I'm an adult. Um, a homunculi comes visit them called Sloth, and they cannot kill Sloth. Sloth is pretty tough until they eventually kick him off the side of a mountain, um, incorporate him with some like they use some bullet on him that makes everything freeze faster and freeze more, so he eventually gets frozen, not necessarily to death, but like frozen to be immobilized. Um, and once they reveal the tunnel, because Sloth is the one who's been thing in this tunnel, and it's interesting. I guess it's all happening. I'm not sure if it was all coincidence that the Elric brothers are heading here, just as Sloth also ends up here, because he's making the tunnel essentially, and we learn the tunnel is part of this big like transmutation circle that goes throughout the different parts of Amestris. Um, but as they go through the tunnel to kind of look through the tunnel, Olivier is like, all right, cut the shit. Like, no one's here. Tell me about your entire thing. And they tell her and they inform her is like, yo, King Bradley's a homunculi. The entire state of alchemist is this, that, and the third, and all this other stuff. And you could potentially be in danger as well. And your troops could also be in danger as well. And just as that happens, who walks in? None other than Kimley himself. Kimley, who came from the hospital, recovered from all his wounds, and he offers, he's out here looking for Scar because he's like, I need some assistance with helping Scar, but I'm the one who needs to kill Scar. Kimley's very like low key, subtly, very aggro, very like, especially the Major Miles. You get the tinge of like racism. You
Oh
know
yeah,
what I
for
mean?
sure.
You get the thing of like, this nigga don't really fuck with you, like, and you got to work for him. And then General Raven shows up as well, because this is one of the rare. I think it's interesting once it's all revealed about who everyone kind of is. That's when King Bradley, because normally in this situation, it's King Bradley who shows up and is like,
yeah, I'm surprised he didn't pull up.
maybe it's too far, maybe it's too cold, maybe he
He
doesn't
was like,
want
nah.
he doesn't trust Mustang and Hawkeye not to do something crazy if he's gone. So they sent General Raven. General Raven was also part of this. They inspect the hole, and it's told that in creating this massive Philosopher's Stone with the transmutation circle, Ford Briggs is next. Commander Armstrong feigns that she doesn't know anything, and Commander Raven, General Raven, shows up and asks him like, "Yo, you trying to be immortal, gang? Like
What you trying to do? He was like,
you,
he was
yeah,
real
man.
intrigued.
He was trying to riz her up, but like
He really was. He got the horny killed him.
he was like, so you trying to be gang? Like, you don't have to worry about this anymore. Like, I like the cut of your jib. I like the way you swing your sword. I like all this other like stuff like
Man,
that.
listen, he was talking to her like how niggas be talking to strippers. He's like, you ain't gotta do this no more. I can take you out this life. Listen, you ain't gotta do this.
Oh my god. So um she states that she will get a seat at Central Command. Armstrong angrily responds by stabbing Raven through her left arm with her sword, and then Armstrong is eventually kills Raven herself. How did you feel about this situation?
You're talking about with her taking out Raven?
Yeah, how did you feel like
Oh,
it?
okay. That's all I was trying to clarify the she's ruthless. God damn, what a way to go out.
Yeah, I think it's
She hit him with the goddamn uh what the Han Solo had to get in Star Wars. Just how you just gonna put a man in cement.
it was dope, but also risky, right? Like you're essentially killing one of these people involved in this inner circle, clearly, and
Also, not just anybody involved with this inner circle, like a high ranking officer that isn't coming back from visiting your um that come like all signs point to you did something to this person. And especially with the amount of distrust that's already happening in the military, like this was definitely a risky move that we find out she's able to finesse.
that's what I like about her. She's able to finesse the situation. She's able to, figure herself out. She kicks him into the cement thing. He gets buried in cement, which is nuts. Like, this is what a way to go. Gets stabbed and then gets buried with cement. She throws off her gloves. She's like, she got some new gloves and stuff like that. Everyone's like, damn, proud of my boss. She killed a guy. Ed and Al are now being fake held in prison. I mean, I don't know if it's still fake, but they're in prison nonetheless. And Kimberly visits them, and he says that he brought someone who can help them, and it's Winry. and they're like, Winry, what the hell? Like, what are you doing here? I guess yeah, it's like that. I don't know if you ever seen that thing or Ariana, what are you doing here? It's like one of those things.
Yeah.
Um, Winry does not know that she's a whole pawn in all of this, and but Ed does
Yeah,
get
got
his.
him a good dummy, don't he?
Yeah,
That's
but
great.
here's my thing as well.
He's
I
so
also
smart,
feel
but
like
so
I
dumb and
expected
so
the
funny.
homunculi to also be like a little bit more all knowing of things. Like it's incredibly easy to trick a homunculi. It's like
Oh yeah, they're not
incredibly,
smart. They're not smart at all.
but also it's like they don't have. There's not like any power of like you can't whisper around them because they might find it. You can whisper around them, you can plot around them, you can come up with schemes around them. I mean, we see it throughout the rest of this thing of they come up with a general scheme in order to like kind of um subdue everyone. It's like I don't know. These homunculi, they're not all as cracked up to be, but here we are. Um, let's see. Where do we go from here? They're looking to find Scar. So they send out a search party and crew includes Ed, Al, and Kimberly. Also, Winry decides to jump on as well because she's like, just in case you repaired Ed, Ed gets lighter auto mail, gets the uh, I guess the quality of life upgrade. It makes him faster.
Yeah,
And
nah, it's tight. It's cool too how like with the auto mail thing. One of my favorite aspects of this whole show, how they're able to like personalize it and how they're able to kind of make it their own thing. So it was cool seeing even when we geek out like, oh my gosh, you got this is this that's diamond crusted, and you had the what is it called, the alligator, the gator mouth one, and even there I'm asking Ed, like, why don't you get any of this? And Ed's like, man, that's not my style. Like,
yeah.
I don't be rocking with that stuff like that.
So we talked about all the Salim and the homunculi thing. They end up searching for Scar. And Major Miles reports to Kimberly that Scar is likely hiding in the abandoned mining town, Bastral. So everyone gets in organized teams. They look to find Scar. May finds that Elrix and believes they seek her out for love rather than knowledge of Algastry. She couldn't be more wrong. They want your thoughts, not your love, little girl. Um, Dr. Marco also appears in Yoki. Is it Yokai or Yoki? Um,
Uh,
the nigga they don't care about. It was just like,
Yoki, let's call him Yoki.
yeah, and Yoki dislikes the Elrix, but what are you gonna do? He's got nothing. He's got no skin in this thing. Scar
Oh,
eventually
yeah.
comes off against. He eventually gets found by two soldiers who end up being chimeras. Um, Elric show up. They also beat up the monsters, and they incapacitate Scar, and eventually like hold him down. And it's this big
Oh
whole
yeah,
like
shout out to the Bebop and Rocksteady reference.
that was cool.
That was
Um,
cool. I saw it. I was like, oh man, they rocking with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. See, I knew these are cool. These are cool people.
so the incapacitate Scar leads to this big explosion that eventually happens. Um, there's so much stuff that happens.
I know.
Ed emerges from the building. Scar has been taken. Winry has been taken hostage by Scar, but the entire situation is fake because they had this whole like plan from the beginning, and they had this whole confrontation. And like, oh, you killed my thing. I don't even want to be like with you. But they're like, oh, we need him to, um,
Winry being the one though of being like, nah, we need to use this.
yeah, we need a better plan. We can't continue fighting each other because then they're just going to take us out one by one. So we need to join forces. And eventually Scar deals with all the like guilt from like killing Winry's parents. He's like, damn, I shouldn't have done that. I'm
He's
really
like, I bugged. I bugged
yeah,
out. I'm
I
sorry.
was bugging out, yeah. But
He was like, listen, man, I was on this 3-day bender. You know how things get.
um
This is like when this is like when the Muslims and the Christians link up to protest together. Oh, this feels like.
So the plan goes just as how it's supposed to go. Um, Miles receives danger of an emergency at Fort Briggs. Alphonse warns Marco of the group of danger because they said they've been taken over by Central. Olivia Armstrong meets a Fuhrer Bradley. She
And
shows up
once
in
again,
Central.
big finesse. The big
Yeah,
finesse happens.
it can't be that long to get to Central with the way people are flying across this damn city,
That's what
this
I'm saying.
country.
They got a great train system.
It looked like she got there later that evening. Like, you know
That's
what I
what I'm
mean? Like
saying.
2 days later. I was
Like,
like, damn, y'all ain't got that great technology. You ain't got the bullet train. I'm pretty sure it took hours, but hey, what are you gonna do? Same episode.
they got way
Um,
better. Yeah, they got a better train system than y'all.
if you're
They're
King
way better than
Bradley,
MTA, bro.
King Bradley, oh, way better. King Bradley is like, so you killed General Raven, like for what? Like, you know what that can mean, right? And she was like, General Raven could not keep his mouth shut. He was out there blabbing to me, without any prompt, invited me to your immortal clique and told me all about your secrets and stuff like that. Like, he was a creep. Like, you didn't need him. You need a me. You know what I'm saying? You need a me.
So you need
Um,
a boss on this. He was just like all that pillow talking, all that,
who knows who else he could have told about this? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Um,
like, well,
and King
little
Bradley's like,
little
so
hussy got
you
him acting crazy.
right, and King Bradley's like, so you want to become gang? And she's like, hey, listen,
It is what it is, partner.
yeah, here we go. Um, Father prepares for the next phase of his plans. It includes a selection of potential human sacrifices. He names Edward Elric, von Hohenheim, and maybe Azumi Curtis. But he remarks that he still needs one more to fit this like big transmutation circle. Then we get to the Van Hohenheim flashbacks a little bit. Let's talk about this little story, this little backstory as well. Um,
Now this is where shit get cracking. I like
there's a
this is such a cold backstory because even then, remember when they were even figuring out, um, like when they were figuring out all these attacks and pretty much figuring out that the whole country is just one big transmutation circle, and they're going back in time and thinking about, okay, like what were these like big bloody murderous massacres that happened throughout history,
right,
and they're
and
going
it happened
and if
here. It happened here. Yeah, it happened here,
yeah,
and
and it was
it
cool
happened in
too though because
Briggs.
it kind of gave you a concept too of like the time period that they're in now, where
Right.
where they're like, okay, this happened in 1777, but this happened in 1806, and then this, and so it's like it also puts you in the space of like, damn, like they've been plotting for this for a minute, and then when you go back to Hodenheim's story and you see that this motherfucker been alive since damn near the dawn of time,
His
you're like,
curse is that he's immortal, which is
yeah,
it's a burden that he's choosing to take on. I mean, you see, before we see the father kind of flashback, we see the Van Hohenheim one where he's not necessarily happy with kind of like how his life is, especially like he feels guilty. He also feels a sense of like he feels like he's a monster in a sense for his immortality because he's watching all these people. He's experienced a lot of death in his life, and and it's made him not want to get close to anyone. And he finds someone he wants to get close with. It ends up being the Elric's boy's mother, marries her, has children, and has to watch all of them age. But he's the one who's never going to age because he's immortal, which is, I'm not sure if that's how immortality works, but whatever. I'll never be immortal, so it is what it is.
I hope everybody
Um,
finds a Trish in their life.
there you go. How about that? Hold you
Trish,
down. And
Trish held it down.
she's like, listen, we'll find a way to die together. Don't worry. Like, we'll find a way to croak at the same time. Don't you worry. Just be here for your family and all this other stuff. And he's just very happy that he's got someone in his life. But ultimately, he's like, I gotta go. And that's when he pretty much bails on his family because he felt like he was like, I have to find, similar to how the Elric brothers are going on their journey to um, get their bodies back and get everyone kind of back. He's on his own journey to figure out how he can remove the burden of this or immortality against him. And then later in the little bit of episodes, we see a father flashback where we see the little the little black thing and the little thing,
Yeah,
the homunculi in the flask.
the first homunculus.
Yeah, and he's just there, and he just seems like a bad vibes. But Van Hohenheim is just rolling with him, and eventually he reaches up to he gets to the king, and he's like, King, I have a way for you to make you immortal, but you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do that, and they all buy into the plan, and eventually everyone in the country is killed, including the king, except Van Hohenheim and a little homunculi in the flask. And that is the birth of Father once they create this transmutation circle. And it's essentially what's going to happen to Amestris, which is why that little prelude of what happened. And it's why you see the reason why it's Van Hohenheim told Grandma Rockbell is like, something bad about to happen. I think you should leave. And the reason why he's just very cold about all these situations, why he's not very, he's sad, but also he's not trying to get attached to anything as well.
Van Hohenheim had many sons. Many sons had Van Hohenheim.
So Van Hohenheim eventually counters Azumi and Sid Curtis, and he's like, "Oh, it's the guys that y'all trained the thing," and he's helping.
This is such an odd scene.
This is wild as fuck. It just is.
It's a crazy fucking scene.
Like, oh, my ribs. And he's like, I'm a doctor. I'll help her out like that. Someone get a car. So he runs to get a car, and then her husband goes to run and get a car, and Van Hohenheim legitimately like
he sticks his hand in her stomach. Literally sticks her hand in his stomach.
But it's like a jab. It's like a.
He was like, you're gonna feel. It was like when you go get your ears pierced, and they be like, oh, you're gonna feel a little pinch. And it's like you feel this whole
But it wasn't. It seemed more. It felt more. It felt like a situation where he could have like turned on her and looking like he was trying to kill her. And that's when Sid Curtis comes up and mollywops him across the alley.
Yeah.
And then she was like, oh my God.
I feel great. Like, it's like when you get your back cracked, you be like, whoa, oh. You like, damn, I haven't been able to.
And he was like, I rearrange your inside for more optimal blood flow. And I was like, how the fuck did you do that?
He said, I couldn't bring back the organs, but right. I can just, I moved them around.
Rearrange your insides. And it was like, listen, we've all been there. With that said, he eventually reveals that he is a Philosopher's Stone in human form, which is nuts. It's nuts to think about, but it is what it is. And you realize he is also the gold thing that they talk about in all the alchemy books, because he ended up in, I think it was Jing, quite some time ago, and he was the one who helped out a lot of people in that society. So it is what it is. Yeah, let's see. So let's move over to Ed versus Kimley. So Scar's group is in the mines, and they continue their journey through the mines because they're heading to this town right outside of Briggs, which also features Ishvalan citizens who may have gotten away from Kimley. Meanwhile, okay. Ed stays at Fort Briggs. Major Miles orders his men to get ready for confrontation with Kimley's group. Ed disagrees on the plan to kill Kimley and suggests capturing for interrogation. Miles insists on the necessity of eliminating him, emphasizing the harsh reality of Briggs. He's like, listen, we gotta kill him. Like, I don't know what the fuck you thinking. I don't know if they didn't kill him before, and look at what's happening now. Al's revelation. Al gets to the group.
Once again, this is like this moment is a I mean, even whatchamacallit, Miles brings it up. Also, shout to Miles. This
cool guy. Great glasses.
Cool guy. Great.
Reminds you of anybody?
You?
No. I don't have glasses. I was gonna say Nanami.
Glasses are having a moment, aren't they, this year?
You get a little Nanami vibes. He don't go out like Nanami, but it is what it is.
Nah, Nanami got murked. He went out in such a
Absolutely.
horrible way for such a cool character.
I don't write the thing. Apparently it's cool and it's all hunky dory. But hey, that's another discussion for another day.
Yeah.
Confrontation
Oh, but
with Kimley.
yeah, no, it was just, but no, it was one of those moments though. Once again, you see, and Miles also acknowledges it, as like you see the immaturity or just the youthfulness of Ed and Al. Also, we missed one big thing of
But
Kimberly telling Ed like, "Yo, you got three things that you need to do, and one of them is massacre this whole town."
right, okay, it's in my notes. I'm flying all over. It's massacre this town,
It's
kill
fine. It's fine, Marco, and it's fine, Scar.
Scar. Right, absolutely. Um, anyway, it gets to the point where they're like, all right, we gotta do something about this Kimley character. But Kimley is eventually, he's like tipped off. He's like, I can sense the bloodlust that's all around. Like, I know niggas want to kill me. Niggas want to see me dead.
So
I get it.
many men should start playing right here.
I see all the snipers in the building and all the other shit that you got going on. And he creates a mist from the snow to evade all the snipers. And Ed tries to reason with Kimley, but he is like, ugh. And so Kimley sends out his chimeras, leading to this big confrontation. And then Kimley uses this thing to create a big explosion, and all the chimeras get buried in the rubble. And Ed gets a whole thing throughout his entire body. He gets a whole, I guess, a beam or some sort of structure. Um, Something pretty much impales him, and he's just there. And it isn't until the two chimeras are like, yo, this kid looks like he's suffering a lot. Um, and they eventually help him out, but he uses a little bit of alchemy to heal himself as well. Um, let's see. We're flying through this much faster than I thought we would. But hey, fights. Um, let's talk
Boom,
about
boom,
everything
pow.
that happened afterwards, where essentially
Well, I
they
mean, there's
go ahead.
two big things that happen here. First, Ed gets completely impaled by
Impaled, yes, by the
his,
thing, yeah, and
yeah,
he uses the alkahestry to heal himself. Yes,
yes, he used
Alchemy.
he used alchemy to heal himself, which essentially he turns his own body into um he turns his own like body and life energy force into a quote unquote philosopher's stone, and
Hmm.
he uses that to heal himself and to heal his organs and all that, which in return takes a couple years off of his life. But also at the same time, we go to Al, and Al's body is calling out for his soul, and so Al is starting to shut down because obviously the soul and the body need to be one together.
Right.
Um, and I think like this is such a crazy moment because now not only are you fighting against the military and all these fucking villains, you're now fighting against time where you're like, we need to figure this shit out quickly before um yeah, we need to figure this all out quickly before, Al is gone for good.
So from there, they get to the house and they eventually go through all of the notes and they rip it out all the pages. And apparently, it makes this big fucking transmutation circle. And it's like, great. What is it? Do we need any more circles in the story? Um, and they aren't able to decipher it until one of the pages gets turned over. And they're like, oh my God, yes, we have to turn all the pages over. That's how we find out. And I'm just like, oh God. Um, I didn't like that in terms of like, oh, you just have to turn the pages over. I was like, oh, it shouldn't be this.
I kind of like it because
But
it's like a coin. It's the reverse side. It's the, here's the transmutation circle that they're using to kill everybody to create this ultimate whatever. But then also on the flip side, here is the transmutation circle that offsets the
but
other one.
so is there like two different books on both sides of the page? Like that's what I was. I'm like looking. I'm like, all right. Clearly, both sides of the pages have to be important. Are you choosing even sides of the pages and doing this? Are you choosing odd side of the pages to do this? Like that's when my brain else is like, I don't get why the other. It's all important, right? I mean, and I guess in a sense it still is, but it's like I don't know. I just didn't like the whole flipping of the thing.
You felt it was too easy. It was too easy of
I
a
thought it was too kind
solution.
of like stupid. I don't know, maybe. Um, so Sloth completes the 5-point array around the country, and only to those at Fort
Imagine
Brigg.
having that job. And also, Sloth is the most boring of the
Yeah, he clearly
homunculus.
is. Um,
Like he didn't even fight back. I was just like, dang.
Sloth, baby.
He was like,
Uh,
nah, I'm okay.
Hohenheim encounters Pride in that tunnel thing. First of all, you couldn't get me to go under there.
Hell no. What?
It's different.
What?
Because he shows up in Rio, meets all the citizens, eats their food, and then goes discovered Pride under it, and then declares war against Father. And it feels like he's got renewed purpose now with everything that's kind of going on. Let's see, Fort Briggs is
Yeah, he
under
has
attack.
this is my declaration of war moment.
Absolutely. The forces at Drachma initiate an offense. Well, the forces at Drachma, let's talk about Drachma for a second. Didn't stand a chance.
Didn't stand a chance at all.
They got run up and got done up. Like
Yeah, Kimberly sent them completely off.
yeah, Kimberly is like, this is the time to attack. And Drachma is like,
Where's Kimberly
Briggs,
at?
we are Drachma.
Yeah,
And
definitely. They thought they were gonna pull up like
Kimberly,
300.
where are you? I thought you said they weren't expecting this.
Briggs
And
handled that shit so crazy too. They like I don't think they broke a sweat.
nah, they
They
blew
sounded the
everybody
alarm
up.
and just wiped them with the floor, and they were just like, all right, that's enough.
Bang, bang, boom. Meanwhile, they all get to the different. They get to the northern town of Aspect, and we see a little betrayal action. Zampano contacts Envy and Wrath. It's like Dr. Marco's out here. He's chilling. And episode ends, and it's like, oh shit, there's about to be something going down. So as they're residing in Aspect, Zampano meets with Envy, who disguises himself, and he's like, cut the crap, Zampano. We're here. I'm here to grab Dr. Marco. And Envy reveals himself, but it turns out it's been a trap this entire time. And they're taking advantage. Yeah, they took advantage of how Envy is. They're like, listen, Envy getting done up by the Dr. Marco was not on my bingo card.
Man, where the fuck was Dr. Marco hiding this entire time?
I
that
guess
he
he's
could
never
do that?
had. Yeah, I guess he's. I mean, I wouldn't assume. I don't want to say. I guess he's never had to use it because he was very much so imprisoned by the homunculi. But
Oh, I would have been pulled this move out. What? When I would have pulled the move out when Lust pulled up to his crib.
well, maybe he wanted to make sure he had backup because he's not a strong person. He's just a guy who can extract people's philosopher's stones, which seems very, very important.
That's what I'm saying. I feel that's enough power. I don't feel that you need backup to
I
be
feel
able.
you might need backup. You might need backup. With that said, so Envy is pretty much done. He's been pretty much. He's shrunken down and now he's this little lizard thing. May leaves the group. They're like, go back to Shinga, little girl. This is not a place for you. You did all that you could. You did everything that you can. Go back. Let's see. Envy's thing. They defeat Envy. Former ally of Greed hides. Oh yeah, the Greed's man's hides under the car to go to Central. That will sure be important at some point. And okay, last two episodes. How about this? Let's head to the last two episodes of this entire ordeal. Because again, there's a lot that goes on. It's so much to like keep up with, and there's so much like if we go through every little minute detail, we're gonna be here forever because pretty much a lot happens. The final episode is where we see fucking
Little girl, she runs off. She goes back to Jing.
Yeah, she goes back to Jing, but also there's something else that happens in this. And oh, this all happens in the final episode, huh? Okay, 43. Um, Olivia Armstrong meets her brother. It's pretty funny. Um, they go to okay, so eventually Olivier um sees revealed. He's like, listen, what are the three? He meets up with Lieutenant General Gardner and says, what are the three rules of being a state alchemist? And one is obey the military, two is do not create gold, and three is do not create human beings. He says the first two have obvious reasons, but the third rule has a hidden agenda, and they go into the hidden room, and Gardner reveals that they have been creating their own army. And it's like, whoa, wow, crazy. Um, Also in this episode, they're looking for Zumi Curtis and her husband. Cannot find them. Good on them. I assume that's something that Van Hohenheim did. Um, and yeah, that's kind of how we end here. It's the last final part is Al has arrived at Rio, and Al recognized Rose upon arriving at the food stand, and she's surprised that Al is traveling again. Asks where Ed is. Al states that he isn't here today, teasing Winry about a hint of jealousy when Rose admits that she missed him. Aw. Winry snaps at Al, and Hohenheim returns from washing pots and notices that Al is there. So we get some Al and Hohenheim. We get some more secrets revealed about the state alchemists, and they got a whole secret army plan to pretty much revolt against anyone who tries to go against them. And we're heading towards the end of this entire battle. It turns up from here. We've got pretty much 20 episodes left in this thing. We're 2/3 of the way through.
And this final third is like a full blown sprint.
There's a
Like,
lot that goes on because there's a lot of things we have to reveal. There is a lot of battles that have to be had. There are still many homunculi who need to be, I guess, extinguished. And there's some homunculi that may not have really even fully been revealed as of yet. Um, we are in the end game of this entire ordeal. Uh, let's say this. You split this into two more episodes. We'll do 44 through 54 for the next batch. And then we'll do 55 through 64 and kind of end everything here. How's that sound?
I like that. Two more weeks of us on your airwaves.
Absolutely. But a lot of things have been going down. This is nuts. It's crazy. It's only getting weirder and hotter and more things are being revealed. But I feel like we've reached a point now. It's weird. I feel like the story, we haven't reached a point yet where the evil guys are really truly enacting their plan. To be honest, this is going way. You know what? I was going to do a JJK spoiler, but whatever. I won't do it. But
You should do it. Do it. Do it.
no, no,
Do it.
no,
Do
no,
it.
I'm not
Do
gonna
it.
do it. No, no,
Fuck these people.
no, no. I mean,
Fuck these people
it's
listening.
let's say this: the plan in JJK at the end of season 2 has been, we got to create this thing, um, because we want to take
Create that.
over. The curses are going to take over, but we're trying to create this massive curse thing. Um, and I feel like we're getting to that point here of like, okay, the transmutation circle is finished. The bloodshed has been had in Fort Briggs, which is the last part they needed to have, and that was because of Dracum or whatever the fuck it is, whatever that. So the bloodshed is had, and the circle has been created there. A circle of bloodshed has been had there. So they've kind of got all the steps they need in order to get to where they want to go. But how do we stop them? And I think that's what we learn in this next batch of episodes. Like, how do we stop this from going on? And there's still stuff with Roy Mustang. There's still stuff with Van Hohenham. There's still stuff with Ed and Al. And there's still a lot of stuff with Scar that we have to like kind of like figure out. So it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be great. Um, and yeah, any more thoughts? How do you feel about where we're at in the story?
Once again, it's we're at such a great spot because we have so many things in play right now and so many different players in the game. I love the rotation of characters that they use in terms of it's always not like, I mean, obviously King Bradley for like the villains, and you have your mainstay, but you got all these little side supporting characters like Kimberly coming in and like the things that Kimberly brings. You got make General Armstrong when you meet her and all the things that she's bringing out to the table for the Allied side. So to see all this stuff playing out and seeing how all of it's coming together, especially as they're introducing, you're introducing characters what would be presumably late in the game. There's not many times you introduce a character that plays a big role,
Right.
uh, typically late, but they're doing it, and they're doing it in a way though where you're kind of swapping out characters. So now at this moment, there's a few that may have taken a step back, but you got some new people that are stepping in. So you really get a feel of like, okay, this is what they're bringing to the table. This is what they're doing. And it doesn't feel like such overload. I think that sometimes a lot of animes can have so many players in a game at once and you get kind of lost and like, okay, like what is everybody's point and role? I think that like this is a side tangent and probably some slight praise that you're going to be shocked by, but I think that MHA does a really good job of the same thing of having a lot of characters in one scenario at once,
Right.
but each
Play
character
different
actually
roles. Yeah, they play a
they
role.
all play really different roles, but they're really defined roles that don't clash or get in the way with each other. I think
Right.
that's what's happening now. Like you got so many people playing different roles, but they're not clashing and getting in the way of each other. They're doing a great job of complementing each other. I think once again the world building that they do here is so amazing, bringing them up to the north and the Briggs, but also too you even see how obviously how they broke up Mustang's team, but even seeing them how they're communicating with each other of like, hey man, this is what's popping off on the east, and like this is what's popping off in the south. So it becomes once again it all just comes together so cohesively and comes together so well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I know I love the spot that we're in, and I just love this where we're stopping and where we're going next, because like I said, after this it's a sprint. It is a complete sprint to the finish. um and the stakes are a little higher now, especially with Al's body breaking down, and Ed obviously going through his own thing right now. So they're racing against the clock. They're racing against these villains. There's all these things that are happening, but it doesn't feel all these things happening don't feel so overwhelming or so like brain breaking to the point where you're like, okay, I really don't understand it. Um, they're able to let certain storylines rest for a bit while others kind of either close up or even take the forefront, but then they're all they're able to switch a gear to make another storyline pop up. uh so yeah, it's we're in a really good spot right now, Full Metal.
I agree. Of course, thank you guys for tuning in. The lookout, always on the lookout. You can follow the lookout. I mean, you know where to follow us. You know where we're at. And if you don't know, just search us on Twitter, and then you'll figure out. But yeah, definitely we'll be back next week. Got 2 more weeks of this. Interested to see how this shakes out. Interested to see how this turns out. Listen, this is pretty much our winter anime. So
For
um
sure.
we're enjoying this as much as we can. I've gotten too many requests to watch Ninja Kamui and also Solo Leveling, so I think I'm actually going to do that this week.
Oh,
um
look at you adding in more anime to the mix.
I don't really want to, but everyone's been telling me it's good. um so I'll tune in and see where it goes. But yeah, until then, guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. RIP Akira Toriyama. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
First,
Take care.
first, first day of Ramadan. So Ramadan Kareem, Ramadan Mubarak to all my Muslim brothers and sisters out there.
Love it. Appreciate you. Take care, everybody. We'll see you guys next week.